Danon, Israel's ambassador to the UN, says Jewish people have biblical rights to the West Bank. So he says the Bible is basically Israel's deed to the land. A deed. Apparently we're doing real estate law through mythology now. Because imagine if every country on earth started using ancient religious texts, old empires, and ancestral stories as property documents. Indigenous nations across the Americas would be entitled to remove everyone whose family came later. Italians could revive the Roman Empire. Greece could start redrawing half of Europe. The whole world becomes a violent game of my ancestors were here first. So that's exactly why modern international law doesn't work that way. A religious or historical connection to a place can be real. It can be meaningful. Jewish history and religious attachment to the land are real. History and religious attachment to the land are real. But Palestinians also have histories, families, villages, graves, churches, mosques, homes, farms, and generations of continuous life there. And even if one group's connection were older, which is not how rights work anyway, that would still not create a right to dispossess the people living there now. The Bible's not a land registry. It's not a UN resolution. It's not a property deed. It's not a legal excuse for permanent military rule. The actual legal reality is this. The UN Security Council says Israeli settlements in occupied Palestinian territory have no legal validity and are a flagrant violation of international law. Not controversial. Not just some activist slogan. That's the Security Council. So what are we still even talking about here? And the International Court of Justice ruled in 2024 that Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful. The court said Israel must stop new settlement activity and evacuate settlers. So when Danon says biblical right, what he's really saying is we have a religious story, therefore international law doesn't apply to us. Nope. That's not how civilization works. You don't get to invoke ancient scripture to justify taking land from people currently living on it. You don't get to cite God as your zoning board while building settlements in occupied territory. You don't get to say our ancestors lived here thousands of years ago as an answer to Palestinians being denied freedom, equality, property, movement, and self-determination today. And here's the part they never want to address. If this is just about Jewish people living in the West Bank, then why the military occupation? Why land seizures? Why settlement expansion? Why separate legal systems, civil law for settlers, and military courts for Palestinians living practically next door? Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have both concluded that Israeli authorities' system of domination over Palestinians amounts to apartheid. The ICJ also found Israel's discriminatory measures in the occupied territory violate the prohibition on racial segregation and apartheid. So spare us the mystical real estate paperwork. A historical connection is not a license for conquest. A religious belief is not a title deed. And if your claim to the land requires occupation, settlements, segregation, and the permanent denial of another people's freedom, then it's not a right. It's domination with some weak-ass Bible verses taped over it.